welcome to the first episode of the Black Mirror Cast beta version. I'm your host, Kari Sims, and I'm joined here as always with my co-host, the lovely Miss Jackie Hearn, and the beautiful Stacy Baldwin. Hi guys, how are ya?
Hey,
hello.
I'm so excited.
Everybody got their coffee and you're ready to dive in?
No, I got my rum and coke.
Well, I didn't ask what was in the coffee, just as long as you got the coffee.
Cheers.
Well, today on the Black Mirror Cast, we discuss the national anthem. It's season 1, episode 1. It is a controversial episode as a series premiere. This is Charlie Brooks's twisted parable for the Twitter age, a political thriller involving the kidnapping of fictional princess Susanna, a much-loved member of the British royal family, putting Michael Callow, the British Prime Minister, left to deal with the crisis. He's forced to make a decision, engage in sex acts with a live pig on television that's broadcasted to the world in order to possibly save the princess. The princess could be either killed either way, but he has to face the nation with his decision, whatever he may decide. There can be no trickery allowed, or all will be lost. And we have a really good cast of characters in this one. So we have Michael Callow, that is played by Rory Kenner. He's the Prime Minister. Alex Kars is played by Lindsay Duncan. You can see her in the HBO series Rome. Donald Sumner is played by Julian Hereford, and he's on Game of Thrones, I believe, as he's Bronn and Rickard's I don't even know what you would call that. It's like his he's like the guy around the compound kind of a thing. He takes care of them. And then there's Princess Susanna, who is played by Lydia Wilson, and she is to star in the upcoming film Star Trek Beyond. So,
really?
Yeah. So, yeah, just my little history about all the characters that are in this. So, let's kind of open this up and talk about the opening scene. We see this opening scene where the Prime Minister finds out that the Princess of Beaumont has been kidnapped. And what's happening here? So let's kind of just get into it. So go ahead, Stacy.
So my first initial response to that was, did you notice that? So you know, the Prime Minister at first thinks it's a joke, obviously, and so he, you know, and as would any of us probably, and then he slowly comes to realize that it's not a joke, that it is in fact that is what they're requesting, and then his cabinet members, did you notice that they kind of assumed that he would do it, that it was kind of an assumption that I want to delve a little bit deeper into this a little bit later on, but because of, I guess, gender roles, because he's a man, it's not as big of a deal, I guess. And so, you know, I would like to hear your guys' opinion about what if it was a female Prime Minister.
Well, I would say, because I actually had a question for you guys, would you do this? Would you fuck a pig if it were to save someone's life? And I probably would, because I just would, if anything I could do, no matter how terrible.
No publicity is bad publicity, right? Yeah.
Phew. But anyways, so I think that, like, if it were a woman, that's a little more difficult, you know.
Would anybody expect her to? So that's my, I think that's probably an interesting take on it, is that everyone expected him to. And if it were a female Prime Minister, I don't think anybody would. I don't think that would even be a consideration.
Well, I find this, what was really interesting about this is that they kind of sat him down. You know, he's just thrown out of bed. He has no idea what's going on. He does think it's a joke, like you were saying. He's in his pajamas, and they're all dressed and ready to go. And they never allude to why this guy is, you know, picking on the Prime Minister. And I found it really interesting, like what did he do? Like, why are we making, like, why is he, you know, centering this guy out and pointing this guy out and, like, you know, making him what is going to be national global news in the, you know, next coming hours, which, by the way, the show takes place in an hour, but it's in a 4-hour period, which is really interesting too, of a timeline. Kind of moves the show really, really fast. So what do you guys feel about that?
I feel like it's probably something that would maybe happen in this country too, because there's a lot of crazy people in the world, and and so, you know, people.
Well, that's the thing with this show, and people haven't watched the show, is that the show is, like we were just discussing, is a modern day Twilight Zone, but it's so close to our technology, to the things that we're doing. You know, they discuss Twitter and Facebook and all those types of things. That's where the scare factor comes in. Do you agree,
Oh, absolutely.
Jackie?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things I thought about when I watched this again, I guess today was my third time, and I wasn't paying close attention as I did before. But I have, you know, watched it when it was originally a Channel 4 show. I watched it, you know, via VPN. I know that you're not supposed to do that, but I did. And I remember thinking that it was all a joke, that maybe, you know, as soon as it's set up, like it very quickly you find out that he's got to fuck a pig. You're just shocked. You're shocked.
And what a first episode. Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a shocker, because I think as a first episode, you're really being risky out there. Like, this could either bring in a hell of a lot of audience members, or it can just turn them away. And personally, I think it's kind of like a car wreck. It's like, you know, you go, I don't want to watch a show about pig fucking, and then you're slowly kind of getting used to the idea, and you're like, wait.
Is it wrong that I really wanted to see it?
It starts to sink in a little, like,
and
what?
Yes, and see, our reactions were similar reactions to the people that were actually watching it in the show. And that's what I found, that's what I found really, really cool, because at first I was like, I don't want to see it, but then I'm like, I can't look away. I have to keep watching this show. I have to keep watching it right through the end, not because I necessarily want to see a penis in the pig, but, you know, I'm like, right. But at the point was like, does he really go through with it, you know, kind of a thing. And that is what the director was trying to encapsulate with our society today, like how we are watching, you know, and we are so glued to, you know, social media and all the things like that. So,
and I think they did a beautiful job, because, like I said, I wanted to see him fuck the pig, like, directly.
Right.
But then you get to that moment when you're watching the audience, and at first it starts off with laughter, and then their reaction, that horror and that shock. That was that was so much better than actually watching the deed. The way they played that out.
Absolutely, because they portrayed exactly what you were thinking at the time, and also probably what the live British audience was thinking at the time too, because they had a little bit of additional context with the show, in that one of their excuse me, I'm not going to get the name at all. I'm not even going to get close. I'm not going to try. But there was a news story where I'm not sure if it was their prime minister or someone in their cabinet, or parliament rather, that in college it was like a tabloid story, and it ended up being true that he had basically fucked a dead pig when he was in college on a dare. And so, so there was a little bit of additional context. So for them, it kind of played into real life even a little bit. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take too.
That's an excellent point. And Waffalakis. Sorry, I thought I had it right this time. Anyways, he's in chat, and he says, I'm not sure that the story came out when this episode originally aired. That's true. That it wasn't.
You could be right there.
Art imitating life there.
Some great articles about all of these Charlie Brooker's stories becoming reality, and how scary that is. So, sorry.
I agree.
So thanks for being in chat, by the way. And if you're watching this recorded, join us 2 p.m. Eastern on Diamond Club TV when we record live.
On Fridays. Yep.
Yes, on Fridays.
Well, you know, and now I'm thinking about the fact that they have this kind of intertwined through the whole story. You know, he is married, and he has a young child. And, you know, you have to kind of think about, what is that going to do to your family? What is that going to do? You know, it's not just necessarily about a popularity type of a thing, like, oh, are people going to respect me when I'm done? You know, when it comes down to it, like when you said, Jackie, would you do it? I don't know if I could, just because, you know, with my family, the people that, you know, the way I look at it, I could have every single person in this world hate me, but if the people that I love and that love me can't even look at me the next day, I don't know if I could do it, to be honest.
Right.
Now, that's my choice, and everybody has a different choice, but I'm curious to see what you guys
And I think women in general have a different perspective on sexuality, normal sexuality with you know, human beings, because we get judged for making sexual decisions just on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to jump to the conclusion of, you know, whore, slut, you know, that type of
Well, think about the
labeling.
reporter that was in this episode. Now, the reporter who, you know, starts to sext back and forth with one of the insiders at the, you know, at the political compound trying to get information, you know, she's putting herself out there, and she's using like modern day, you know, kind of technology and doing those types of things to get information. And what do you think about that?
The reporter, I'm kind of ashamed, and I do this all the time, and I try and catch myself, and I'm admitted something about my own personal, you know,
Sure.
I guess biases, because we all have those fleeting thoughts where we know that that's not the way that we want to think, but that's our immediate reaction to things. And I was kind of, my gut reaction was kind of, oh, okay, well, that's how you're going to get it done. And,
Yep. And we've all
you know,
done it,
and-
and we've all been there and have been put in that situation where we can use, you know, sexuality as a tool, not necessarily as a weapon in this point, but as a tool to advance. And, you know, it's interesting that they put that in there. It was just kind of like an underlying backstory type of a thing. I also find it really interesting in the beginning how they stated that his, you know, the people that were agreeing with him to actually, you know, go through with the deed. It was only in the beginning, it was about like 14%. But and now understand, this is only like a 4-hour period of time of this movie, or this, you know, this event to be happening. As the time went on and the pressure was put on, people were like, yeah, he needs to do it. He needs to do it. And it went almost up to like 80%, 86 or 87% at that point where they're like, just do it kind of a thing. And it was more like, I want to say more Gladiator style, you know, like just off with his head kind of a thing. Like, just do it. People were getting like, it wasn't necessarily for the cause as much as I feel like it was more for the excitement and the thrill of what was about to happen, what was going to take place. And they just, like Jackie had said, they want to see it done, you know. And
until it actually started happening. And
Right.
then it turned on a dime immediately as soon as it actually started happening, because like the audience, because we wanted to see that happen up until that point too. And almost at the exact same moment when they did those shots in the bars and everywhere else throughout the country, you saw the look of, ha, this is actually happening, to, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is actually happening.
Right,
And
exactly.
just horrified.
Right.
And you felt bad for him. And I think for me, at the point where he said, I love my wife, that's when my heart kind of broke a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So it was just awful. It was just awful, but you couldn't not watch it.
You definitely got the sense that that wife is never going to have sleep with her husband ever
Right.
again.
Like, yeah, exactly.
You fucked a pig, you're not coming back at me.
Oh God!
Yeah.
And can we just put ourselves in the shoes of the wife for a second? Not that I would really want to, but like, oh God, like that is just awful. I kind of feel
humiliation
worse for
factor.
her.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
because she wasn't really, you know, directly but indirectly involved. And yeah, it's a humiliation factor, just complete. You know, it's almost kind of like it's probably, I mean, I hate saying it's probably how Hillary Clinton felt a little bit. I mean, on a different scale. I mean, He kind of fucked a pig, but you know, it's all good. But
Are we really doing Monica Lewinsky jokes right now? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, we are. I'm sorry. But
They never go away.
Yeah, I know they never go away. But I mean, you know, it must be kind of like that, where it's just kind of like, you know, how do you save face? And you know, on the outside, you know, everything looks, you know, glorious, but on the inside, you know, walk into their home and they're not happy. You know, you can tell. I think it was really interesting how they asked to like shut the TVs off. They're asking the people to shut their TVs off. And you know, at the same time that this deed will not be completed until he completely ejaculates into this pig. And so the time factor is what is egging on, and you hear him say it's been an hour, you know, it's been so long. Like how, like, you know, I mean, the mere fact that you have to do it the first time, but the fact is that like you're still doing it 30 minutes later and people are still watching. Holy crap. Like that was just like, that made me sick. I was like, man, that sucks. You know, what do you think, Jackie?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you laughing at?
No, what I'm laughing at
Monica Lewinsky?
Because no. The ejaculation part and the fact that I had to switch back so that everybody could see both Stacy and my reactions to what you said. But yeah, that kind of horror of seeing it happen. It you know, I kind of wonder, like, if that were reality. I mean, this thing does play out so well, so exactly what you think life...
I would think so. I mean, and that's the pathetic part about it. It's just like, how could you keep it up without having like Viagra or anything like that?
Well, no, he did pop a pill beforehand.
He did, and I assumed that was Viagra, but like, how could you get yourself to perform, I guess you could say, just because it's up doesn't mean you're having a good time.
Even if you were having sex with another human being and it was being broadcasted and you're the prime minister.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be really difficult. So, I mean, I was thinking, Stacy, okay, so we see that really pivotal scene where we see this like beautiful green dress walking across this bridge just kind of in a daze and then just collapses. And we find out a little bit later it's the princess, and she had been placed there 30 minutes prior to the sex act even starting, and we don't find this out until pretty much the end.
Oh my god.
How did you feel, number one, when you first saw her? And then later on, how did you react when you found out she had been there 30 minutes prior?
Well, the way that they edited the shots, it seemed like she was being dropped off because he was doing it.
Correct.
Because he was following the instructions. And then you find out that it happened. I must have cursed at my TV screen for a solid 5 minutes. Like, I was so pissed, and I'm so glad that they chose not to tell him that, because I think he probably would have killed himself. I think that is something that you just do not tell someone, because
it was a good choice for her not. I agree.
Absolutely. And while I didn't agree with the blonde woman, the advisor,
Carnes.
I did not agree with her decisions throughout the entire episode. That's kind of when she redeemed herself a little bit for me.
Sure.
Because that was a good decision on her part. But God, could you imagine? Could you fucking imagine? Like, no. I just, awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Jackie, how about you? How did you feel? Again, I'm asking the same question. How did you feel when she fell on the bridge and just kind of collapsed, and then also finding out 30 minutes later?
Well, I was almost got to this point at the beginning when we started opening the show, but I thought I would save it a little bit. That I felt like my first time watching, I did think it was sort of a joke, and I thought that, I mean, just the princess crying. Sort of, it almost seemed like
acting. Yeah.
She was doing this to
herself,
trick
or something. Yeah, it was an acting thing. It looked like, in my opinion, too. I agree.
And so so my first time watching it, I was kind of shocked that, oh, this was set up. This was a thing. Like, her life really was maybe in danger. But obviously this guy was probably going to let her go no matter what, because he was going to hang himself. But yeah, I guess that was my first thought, was that, oh well, okay, so it did happen. And then that's when I started to go, oh my God, this show is brilliant. I got to go to the next episode.
Right, absolutely, 100% all the way. Yeah, I got to go to the next. Yep. Totally got hooked on Black Mirror after that one. I was just kind of like, absolutely. What is happening?
Nuts.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy to me when that happened as well. And I just, when Karin said something like, so it's a statement, and it pulls into the fact that there were. They stated that there were 1.3 billion viewers at that moment glued to their TV screens. And here is this poor woman who is, feeble and collapsing and obviously needs medical attention for the ordeal that she had just been in. But nobody is willing to, help her because they can't, because they have social media glued face, just kind of like, what is happening here? So, I mean, is it a story of what's happening now? Is this what's going on with our society? I mean, is it something that, as we were discussing earlier, art imitates life type of a thing? What do you think?
I thought it was interesting. I definitely think that because they called it a piece of art is what they referred to it as. It was art. I think the statement of that particular art piece, if you want to call it that, was partially, like you said, Kari, the stance that we have with social media right now, the obsession that we have to be glued to Twitter, we have to be glued to Facebook, to our news outlets and news outlets, and that we're consumed with technology. So I think that's one aspect of the statement. The other aspect, I think, is embarrassing, and this has been going on since the beginning of our country, since the beginning of monarchy and democracy and all of those. So it's a statement making the people in power look like idiots, embarrass them, humiliate them, because they deserve it somehow, because of whatever reason. And I think you had said earlier, Kari, that why would somebody want this to happen? Well, because they can, because it's a statement on what they think is an important statement about society, when I don't necessarily agree. People are people, and we make bad decisions and we make good decisions. But
do you think, obviously, it's a little bit carried away to make a statement, but it obviously made the impact.
Absolutely.
Do you think it changed anything? Let's discuss that. Do you think that if we were living in that world, that actually did occur? And I'll ask you this, do you think that could actually change anything? You think anybody would stop, or do you think just life would carry on?
I think it definitely would change things. And also, in chat again, Waffle says, if it were reality, they never would give in to terrorists' demands. I believe that. I think he's right. I don't think that would have ever really happened. But if that were to occur, it definitely would change things. And I like all the little subtle hints they give you about how the world has changed after the fact. And I loved when they said, they had the news report and they said, on the 1-year anniversary of the Prime Minister fucking a pig, everything as usual. So, I love that.
Hashtag PFF, Pig Fucking Friday.
That's, you gotta put that in there.
Hashtag P, what is it again?
PFF.
Pig Fucking Friday,
Pig Fucking Friday.
Yep.
And it's pig fucking.
Yeah.
No tea.
Actually, God, but Fridays are supposed to be a positive.
It is.
So it's
Follow-
Totally
DIY,
positive.
PFF,
Sure, why not?
It's like follow
or should it
Friday.
be a Monday? A Monday, pig fucking Monday. I gotta go back to work.
My God, Grace.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Waffles. And thanks James Mick for joining us in chat too.
Thank you.
But yeah, and like you said, Jackie, his approval ratings are up the following year. His relationship with his wife, though,
Over.
is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where
Paid a
you
huge
leave off.
price.
Yeah, what price did he really pay? And, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's a creepy show. I think that this was a really amazing first episode to really pull you in. And it kind of, and I don't know if this did this to you guys, but as soon as I was done watching the show, I kind of thought about my own, you know, feelings about like social media and TV, and sometimes how I get lost a little bit. You know, I've got a 15-year-old teenager. I've got a great boyfriend. I have a really good life, but sometimes what do I miss? What am I missing too? Because I'm tuned in otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a pretty good depiction of like what's happening today. So I think that's where the scare factor always comes in. It's crap that could possibly happen, you know? And like you said, Stacy, that it actually might have with David. Oh God, what was his name? David from England.
David from
I'm
England.
doing that. I don't care.
Cheerio.
This is an
I'm
American
David from
podcast.
England.
I don't need to know
You
who
have
they
to
are.
I'm going to
facts
fuck
on
me
this
a
show,
pig.
guys.
Yep. Hey, it's the beta version. Next week it'll be all fact checked. That's what we got.
Oh, definitely.
So it'll be
And
fun.
speaking of next week, just to do a little teaser episode or teaser for next week, episode 2, when we're talking about social media and obsession, I actually needed to step away, and I actually talked to Jackie because I physically got depressed after the second episode. So we'll talk a little bit about that next week.
Hey, that's another thing. I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of a glutton for misery in some ways, but I'm also like super big on comedy. You know, like comedy is like holds me together. So, but I think that's also why I like this show. And my feelings about White Christmas are very extreme. It hurts me to see that kind of world where you lose connection with everybody forever. You know, the blocking. But we'll talk about that when we get to that one.
That's 15 million merits, isn't it? Is that the one?
Oh no. The well, that's the one she's mentioning.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was the John Hamm.
They mentioned the blocking in a couple different episodes, but yeah, White Christmas was the. But we'll talk about that.
Well, it'll be
White
fun
Christmas
to like.
is a good episode.
Can't wait.
It'll
to
be
get to
fun to get through these seasons, and if anybody hasn't seen the show, the seasons are very short. They're like 3 episodes. I think the show is an hour and
about
hour
45.
and a half.
I looked at it today. Yeah, they're all about 45.
So I mean, they're short seasons. Kind of, you know, grabs you and wants you to see more. But you know, it is what it is. Unfortunately, you only get the 3 episodes, but you get through them pretty quick. But I suggest how I did it originally when I first watched it. I watched an episode and kind of waited a week and then watched another episode later a week. It really kind of made it last a little bit longer.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for binging, but I usually binge things that are, you know, that have like at least 10 to 15 episodes in it, you know, per season.
And there's a difference between a show like this and a show like Breaking Bad, whereas like with Breaking Bad, there's an overarching story.
It's serial. Yeah, you have to watch it.
And so you want to get to the next episode, whereas with this, you get it to a conclusion.
Yeah.
And so, and it's a nice little neat package, and then you can kind of absorb and reflect on that for a little bit.
Whole new
and then
story.
it's a whole new thing the next week. So yeah, so I definitely would recommend doing it the way that you said, Kari.
Yeah.
You know, in chat, we got an agreement that the White Christmas is probably one of the best, but then maybe a second is the Clone. And I had a question for you, because Kari, you and I were talking about it as well. Was that your favorite, the Clone, or just to talk general without going into too much of the episodes? You guys want to talk about your favorites, or which?
I think we can talk about our favorites maybe when we get to the end of this because it would be better to like get through each episode and then come back and say, okay, now what was your favorite?
Okay.
So we don't have any like really spoilers or anything like that. I mean, even though this show is a spoiler, but people should know. That
I will say that there's some episodes I'm far more looking forward to talking about than others.
Well, I found it very interesting.
All great.
To go back, and since I've already seen the season, but to go back and kind of study it a little bit is it's an interesting take a little bit more. It's like I still get the same feeling that I did before. The point was like definitely across, but I missed a couple little nuances and stuff like that from the the first time. So it's a lot of fun going back and kind of watching it come together. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're doing out of time, Jackie.
And that's why I think I've got like 15 or 20 podcasts on all the shows I watch. If I watch a television show, I'm all in. I'm going to podcast on it. I know I'm a dork. And not only that, I have no life, and I'm very lonely.
Nerd.
So, but yeah, some of them mean far more to me than others. Like I do one on a Better Call Saul called Lawyer Up, and that means everything to me. That like I'm all in. I was a huge Breaking Bad fan, but more than that, I love Bob Odenkirk more than I love most members of my family. One
question that I wanted to ask everybody.
It is nice to really study, and when you study a show like this and you prepare to talk to friends and you talk to friends about it, it just means so much more to you. Sorry, Stacy, go ahead.
No, that's okay. One question that I did want to ask. So we are in the golden age of television right now. And that's both overseas and here in the States. Do you think a show like this gets made in the United States? Or is this more of a, because it is, mini seasons and it's more of a British format, do you think that it can only happen on the BBC?
Well, it's moving to Netflix, right?
Right, but I mean, but after being made, is it being produced through Netflix? Like not.
Yeah, it's a Netflix show. They bought it out.
Then answers my question then.
Yeah. It was originally Channel 4. Netflix acquired it, and actually, there's a pretty good. I don't know if this is the best story, but I know that our community, the people who are watching us, are going to be very excited. If you don't already know, that Dan Trachtenberg of, Totally Rad Show fame, but most recently 10 Cloverfield Lane, will be directing one of the episodes of Black Mirror. So, I can't wait. I'm so happy for him. But
Dan, if you ever want to come on this show,
Dan Trachtenberg, yes.
Please.
I'm definitely reaching out to him for Cord Killers. So we'll get some kind of. So there's a story here about all the who's directing, who's going to be on to direct, and as I said, Dan Trachtenberg, but also there's the guy, I guess the person, a director from House of Cards will be doing one, so I imagine we might see another political episode, and then Penny Dreadful director. Yeah, so I'm really excited about season 5. I don't know how many episodes they have, but it is definitely now a both U.S. and I don't think it's ever going to lose its British origins, but
no,
I've said
probably not. But it's always nice like when they do a little crossover here. If it's not gaining enough speed British wise, but I think now, I mean, there's all cord cutters. We just we're getting all these different shows now that we weren't really accustomed to, that I think it's picking up popularity in the States, like Sherlock and things like that, that you can watch here, as opposed to like before, like The Office is a good example. The Office was done first in Europe and then came over here, and we did an American version. I don't necessarily think I want an American version. So I mean, let's just say that it's like, stay British. There's some things that it gives it more of that feel and that darkness a little bit, as opposed to American kind of. I think it would kind of kill the series a little bit. I think Americans would kind of it's kind of be like too happy or too whatever. They're more morose over there.
I think 10 years ago, I would 100% agree with you. But since shows like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul have come out and become more, and Walking Dead and all of those really, really great sort of hallmarks of television now. They really have become just, they changed the face of American television.
agree.
Think about House of Cards. House of Cards was a UK show.
Absolutely.
And
that's
I
true.
think the US one is better.
That's true.
But I don't know. But also that British House of Cards started in 1991. So I think that the U.S. one has, or the Netflix U.S. show has the advantage of all the time in between,
Right.
that, to make it better.
It's just a different time in TV in general now, and I think we're also becoming a more of an international audience. I think the lines that divide us geographically don't really matter as much anymore, because we're getting so much from the BBC, we're getting so much from Canada. It's a lot of international sort of mixing that I don't know if it really matters all that much anymore. But yeah, I wouldn't be so quick to say that an American version of the show would be better or worse. I think that it would be interesting to see. I don't know.
So, Jackie, how can the Black Mirror lovers out there get a hold of you?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, actually, I rarely plug this, but I would really like for folks to check out my YouTube and follow me on that. I'm about to do a ton of puppet videos. I've been banking them, and doing some, of course, our good friends of Night Attack. They're my true heroes and my first love. I will definitely be doing some Night Attack videos. But in addition, I'm doing some more for some other podcasts, including You Can't Deny We Have Concerns is a really great. Their improv skills are perfect, and it just demands sock puppets. So I'm going to be doing some of that with some claymation. So if you would go follow me on YouTube, I am youtube.com/Jackie Hearn, and yeah, so just follow me on Twitter at Jackie Hearn 81 on Twitter. Stacy, what about you? What are you up to these days?
So these days, I don't really have all that much to plug other than this show, obviously. You can always find me on Twitter. I am pretty active on there at Stacy, Stacy BEE23, so that's Stacy B23. You can also check me out. I occasionally guest on a little show that you might have heard of, Jackie. It's it's what is it? What is it? That Time of the Month. I think it's called That Time of the Month.
That's right. We're going to be seeing a lot more of you on that too.
So we'll look out for that. Maybe guesting occasionally with the always lovely Crunchy, and then some other lady. I think her name might be Jackie. I don't know.
Or Jackie Herney.
Jackie Herney. Yeah. And so so you can look out for me on that, as well as whatever future ventures. Just look for me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter, and I'll always keep everybody up to date on what I'm doing.
Cool. Well, and for me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Blinken Park, or you can find me on Facebook at Kari Sims. You can check out our other great podcasts by us and some of my friends here at BlazingCaribouStudios.com. The Black Mirror Cast is a Blazing Caribou Studio production. If you'd like to discuss this episode or future episodes, you can email us at blazingcariboustudios@gmail.com. You can catch us on Twitter and Facebook at Blazing Caribou Studios, or tweet us with the tag for today, PFF, Pig Fucking Friday. Just let us know if you like the show. You can always become a Patreon at Blazing Caribou Studios at patreon.com. And every little dollar helps shows like this and helps feed Jackie's need to do more shows.
It fights her depression, because
it does.
Sit
So
and have
thanks.
a beverage and hang out with some great friends like you guys.
So thanks to my buddies here, Stacy and Jackie. Good show, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.